All right, Shalom. I'm going to start out by giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honor to the apostle of the great millstone. Shalom to all the occupants that are pushing the word of sincerity and in truth. It's another camp, prophesying here in Jacksonville, Florida, prophesying the word of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. Scripture speaking about, preaching the word, whether Jake hear or forbear, and it's a time of harsh judgments. This standing year, as well as the previous year, you've been seeing a lot of judgments take place all over the face of the earth. All right, within the United States, in the Black, Latino, and Native American communities, with this vid taking place, as well as various other judgments, natural disasters, killings, murders, all these different things taking place, and that's all divine judgments from Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. You got that second address?
Yeah. The second address, 8 and 56. It says, for when they had 8 and 50?
Yeah.
Okay, slacking. Second address, 8 and 50. It says, for many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter times shall dwell in the world, because they have walked in great pride.
Right, and this is the latter time. These are the last days. All right. And it says, many great miseries shall come to them within these last days. Reread that over.
It says, for many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter times shall dwell in the world.
Right, and this is the ones that dwell in the world. All right, it tells you that in Revelation 12 and 12, which you can hold that also, that woe unto the world, where it speaks about a rejoicing, the people, and it speaks about basically destruction. For the devil is going to come down with great wrath, knowing that he have but a short time. You can hold it. You can go back to that Ezra's.
I got a quick precept. Because it's talking about them that dwell in the world. It's not talking about everybody that sits on the planet. It's talking about worldly people that are in the world. They have the love of the world. This is 1 John 2 and 15. It says, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him.
Right. Yeah, and that represents people that's of the world. And when you go on the second area, the 8 and 50, for the most part, that's judgment all over the face of the earth, man. You seeing it. You seeing it take place in the Philippines. You seeing it take place in Africa, the Asiatic lands. You see it take place in America. And it's not even to the point where, you could just be in the comfort of your own home and try to avoid this judgment, man. All right. It's a lot of which I just heard of. What the federal government was doing. They had these different PPP loans they got issued out, and in Chicago. They issued out a release of all the addresses of the individuals that received their PPP loans, and these different gang members and these Negroes, they started to see a lot of individuals that they had what Jake calls opposition. Certain individuals that they oppose in the streets, and they just started going around killing them, man. That's part of that judgment.
Esau did that by design.
And Esau did that by design.
Because he knew, especially in Chicago, he knew that was going to happen.
He knew it was going to happen.
He knew Jake is in a crab in a bucket mentality, and they're going to go after those who they can get the address, and they know they got their money.
Oh, you can go back there. Put that.
It says, for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life,
right,
is not of the Father, but is of the world.
Right, and that lust can get you put in a bad situation, man. All right, and majority of these people, they just follow after their lust rather than following the ways of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. The scriptures give you laws, statutes, and commandments which you ought to follow, and it's not an option. It's not like, all right, when I get in my latter years, then I can start following the Lord. All right, this, yeah, seek him when he can be found. These scriptures is a requirement. All right, it tells you in the book of Deuteronomy 28 chapter, if you ought to follow the law, statutes, and commandments, then blessings will be showered upon us as a nation. And if you were not to cooperate, it had a long laundry list of different judgments that was going to take place. And one of those judgments would be judgment from your enemies, man. All right? And we see that, all right, in these different cities and things of that nature, especially these cop shootings. You know, you see Jake getting killed left and right by the police, and it's starting to become a normalized thing, man. And that's not going to stop. All right?
It says, "In the world passeth away, and the lust thereof. But he that doeth the will of the Most High abideth forever." And that's the point I want to make. Not everybody's going to be getting judged out here. When you going back to Second Esdras, it says, "For many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter times shall dwell in the world, because they have walked in great pride."
Yeah, and that pride is mainly dealing with our people, man. All right, they have a level of haughtiness. They're lofty-minded. You can't tell them nothing, because this word is about correction, man. That's why, you know, a lot of people use the acronym, the Bible, which is not an acronym. It just goes back to the word biblios, which means books. But Jacob say, what is the Bible? It's the basic instructions before leaving earth. All right, which it has some truth to it. But what Jake doesn't like instruction. It tells you basically dealing with Esau. Esau hating instruction. All right, and Jake following the ways of Esau, man. Being as their father the devil, as it is written in John 8:44, man. And if you walk according to the course of Satan, that leads to nothing but direct death, man. It tells you that in the book of Romans, what? The wages of sin is death. So when these different Jakes get caught up in this judgment, we don't shed tears, man. You know, we don't feel sympathy or empathy for Jake, because we know that a lot of these different people be doing dirt underground in the streets, man.
Got a precept for you real quick.
They do all kind of things where, you know, judgment is catching up to them, and then they'll get on the internet and they'll brag about it. You know, they'll boast about it, and then they might get caught up, you know, on the internet and things of that nature. But then most people start scratching their head and they wonder why it happened as such. We know why it happened, because it's it's the spirit of judgment. All right, and you can't hide from judgment. You can't bunker. You know, you can't enclose yourself in a certain location to try to avoid that judgment. When judgment is on your ass, it's gonna come until hey, just like the movie Final Destination. You see those different individuals was trying to avoid that judgment at all costs, and they was trying to upset basically the judgments. They were trying to kill. If you watch was it 3 of them, if I'm not mistaken. They was trying to kill certain individuals that were slated to die after them, so that they could try to upset the judgment. But the judgment didn't ensue like that, man. So they would get judged chronologically. And it's the same thing. The Lord has each and every one of these, because, you know, dealing with two-thirds number. And if they got to get lined up for that sword, then that's what it is. You said you had a precept?
Yeah, because you had mentioned that Esau hated instruction, and that's according to the scriptures. Well, Psalms 50 and 16. "But unto the wicked the Most High said, What hast thou to do to declare my statutes, or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth, seeing thou hatest instructions and casting my words behind thee?"
Right.
And that's what he pushes, and our people follow. 2/3 of our people follow, which is why they're going to be judged. Our people are going to be judged, like the brother doing it too in 2 Esdras 8 and 50. Those people that's in the world, they walk in great pride. Pride brings forth judgment. Humility brings forth salvation.
Yeah, and the scriptures speak about the Lord gave no man license to sin. This white man will give you license to sin. He'll give you license to basically commit adultery, to be a drug pusher. If you see these different pharmaceutical agents, you have to go to school and you have to get enrollments, and basically you have to take these different tests, and you get licensed as a licensed practitioner of drugs. All right, and the scriptures that's referred to as sorcery, man, witchcraft. When you have you have these over-the-counter drugs, you know, that's really illicit drugs. Is basically the same thing as street drugs, you know, and it perverts the mind, man.
It destroys the body.
And it destroys the body. All right, and I have that scripture real fast, and we'll go back to that 2 Esdras. Sirach 15 and 20. "He hath commanded no man to do wickedly, neither hath he given any man license to sin." Right. So when you have license to do wickedness, where is this license coming from? It's not coming from Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Because the scripture says that the Lord gave no man license to sin. It comes from your enemy, the so-called white man. All right? That's why you have these different women that basically go on these different sex parades, man. They'll sleep with Tom, Dick, Harry, you know, all these different men, and then they'll go to their husband and get a divorce, and they'll get off, they get spousal support, they'll get child support, they'll get all these different, basically, restitution, so to speak. You'll get all these different payments, and you've done nothing but wickedness, man. You see, that's the type of world that we live in. Going back to John 1, 1 John 2 and 15, man. All this wickedness, and it's swelling over. That's the thing about this wickedness. It's constantly blooming, like a bubble, and it's going to be a specific time that the bubble is going to pop.
I got a precept to back you up on what you said.
Still got that in a second.
I got it. I was on the precept. This is First Maccabees 1 in. We'll start at verse 12. It says, "So this device." Well, actually, I'm gonna start up. It said, "In those days went out of Israel wicked men, persuaded many, saying, 'Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen.'" This heathen is talking about Esau, the Edomites. It says, "That are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Then a certain of the people were so forward therein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathens."
Right. So when you have a license, that basically gives you free will.
Yep.
All right. If you have a driver's license, that gives you free will to drive. If you have a fishing license, that you have free will to fish. There's various forms of licenses that you can receive in this world to get free reins to do what you want to do.
They give you the ability to do what it is you want to do.
Right.
Their consent for you to do it.
It's consented, and then a lot of times you have to register. Whenever you get a license, you have to register, to the state, and you get basically, like I said, leeway. So with the heathen over 2,000 years ago, they were giving Jake license to do wickedness. It tells you in the book of Second Maccabees, the 6th chapter, how they were celebrating. Matter of fact, if you go hold that, I get it. Matter of fact, where it was dealing with Bacchus, they was worshiping the Greek god Bacchus, and they was getting into Bacchanalia. They was getting into the gymnasium.
This one will say it right here.
Yep. Which the word gymnos deals with exercising butt naked, man.
Yep.
They were doing all manner of wickedness, and they were getting like today. If you're in the gym, you see these different women dressing ass naked. They get sponsors, man. They get subscribers, and they get paid deliciously off of that license to do wickedness, man. And just like Apostle Hart said, these women have their cleavage all out, she might be have a whole man at the house, man. And you got all kinds of men looking at her camel toe, looking at her ass on the internet and things of that nature, seeing her working up a sweat. That's wickedness, man.
It might be her man filming her while she's doing it.
Yeah, in most cases it is. You got it.
It says, and doing after the giving license to do after the heathens were doing things against what the scriptures say. And Jesus said, this is Israelites that did this. Wicked men in Israel that went after the ways of the heathen, and they got the license from Esau, the king, to do wickedness. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were so and made themselves uncircumcised.
Made themselves uncircumcised. They started to, basically, for lack of a better term, they started to, alleviate from the ways of the Lord.
Yep.
All right, they started to push away from the Lord's law, statutes, and commandments, because it's a commandment to get circumcision. And see, one thing about the law, statutes, and commandments of the Lord is truly high science, man. It has a spiritual meaning behind everything. Men that get circumcised, their bodies are cleaner. They don't accumulate a lot of toxins within because if you uncircumcised, you accumulate a lot of toxins within that the foreskin.
Foreskin, sweat, bacteria.
And women that have basically cervical cancer, and they have these different bodily issues. A lot of times it's from having sex with uncircumcised men.
Yep.
Because they'll have these different bacteria and odors that retain within that foreskin, and when they have sexual intercourse with those women, and a woman's like it's an open womb. So when those two vessels come together, it's just a bacterial frenzy, man.
Yeah, he just leaves off all that's on him inside of her.
Mm-hmm.
And that they wonder why they be having foul odors.
Yep. But the heathen gave Jake license to do so.
It says, and forsook the holy covenant and joined themselves to the heathen and were sold to do mischief.
Yeah. And what it said today, forsook the holy covenant. Because it was a holy contract that the Lord put us under. All right. It tells you that back in Deuteronomy 28 chapter. It also tells you that in Deuteronomy 4 and 6. That this is the wisdom in the sight of the nations. All right. That's what made us gods. All right. Not because we have big muscles. Not because we could jump over, Now those are attributes of a god, but the highest form of godliness was what we retained as a nation that made us stand at the pinnacle of all people, man.
And also that it made us in good graces with the Most High. The Most High would show favor unto us because we were obedient. When we were disobedient to the Most High, what did He do? He punished us. Mm-hmm. So He would bring judgment upon us, or He would bring mercy and reward. He will reward us.
Yeah.
And that would have been, like the brother saying, that would have been our the nations would look at us and say, oh, this is a wise and understanding people. These people are on, or He will put us here. That's what have made us gods, meaning made us judges and rulers of the other nations.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I got a precept. I get it. This way. We're into it. Get into it. Second Maccabees 6 and 1. Not long after this, the king sent an old man to Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after the laws of the Most High. So you see that? It says the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews.
Now Athens were the Greeks were. Mm-hmm. In Greece, that's where that's where your Edomites were. They were dwelling in.
Yeah, because in the backdrop of Athens was known for fornications and a lot of orgies, a lot of sexual
pedophilia.
Yeah, pedophilia. Necromancy. It was anytime.
It wouldn't been like a major metropolis now.
Right.
When you go
Vegas.
to this whole bunch of wickedness going on, even a lot of people come. You know what I'm saying? Like people look at Vegas, a place to go do all kind of wild shit. Mm-hmm. That's why they have a slogan: what goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas. And people go to Miami to party and all that stuff. New Orleans for what? Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras. And all you can say was, and Athens is named after the Greek god Athena. So it was a lot of woman worship within Athens too. You had temple prostitutions. All right, that was another thing. You would go to these different places in Athens, and women would dress ass naked, and you would have men that basically would be showering them with silver, gold, all trinkets, all these different gifts. And in a lot of cases, they would leave home broke. What does that remind you of in today's time? Strip clubs, man.
Yep. And then they show you different. Esau puts in different movies and TV shows like Game of Thrones, mm-hmm. and Spartacus and all that. They show you this stuff that what was taking place. They even had that's where you get your brothels from.
Yeah, brothels.
People go to a brothel and they pick out a chick and they go wild out. They would actually have a lot of orgies mm-hmm. at these. And they would be shooting their rod off on these chicks and walk out, and the next dude come in, and that's how it was done. It was just wickedness.
Yep. It says to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after the laws of the Most High. All right, verse 2, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem. Right, so the temple was the most holiest place that we had. Yeah, the Holy of the Holies was within the inner courts of the temple. All right, but the whole temple on the whole was reserved for holiness. All right, you have what within the temple you had the Ark of the Covenant. All right, which had Aaron's blood. It had it had the covenants.
Yeah.
All right, and then you would have the priests that would make those atonements for Israel constantly, all right, so that they could be sanctified. But what was happening during the time of Maccabees? You had the Pharisees, and as well as the Sadducees. Those Israelites were being compromised, man. All right, that's why. Fast forward into the book of Matthew, you started to see that the priesthood was all jacked up, man. They got bought and paid out. The Romans were paying them, and they became a political organization, man. Just like these different churches.
And also, it told you when we read the first Maccabees, the first chapter, that the heathen, the king gave them license to build a gym. So they took and built a gym in Israel. Like if the camera can't see it, but over here, you look out there, there's an outdoor gym and there's people working out, just out in the public. For anybody riding by, walking by can see. That's what they had, but they were butt naked.
Yep, gymnos.
Doing it.
Yep, to exercise butt naked. It says, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius. Right, so they changed the name of the temple to worship Jupiter. So when you read Acts 7 and 48, Acts the 17th chapter, you see how Paul, as well as the disciples, were clashing with a lot of those jakes within Athens and these different Corinth, all these different places within Greece, because Jake got fully Hellenized. They became full Gentiles, and they were so wrapped up into that lifestyle that a lot of them couldn't break free, man. All right, they had like we're speaking about these different orgy fests. They had all these different, like today. There's always some new damn event here, man. You got these Coachella, you got Rolling Loud, you got all these different events that take place in these different cities and states, and the events never stop. Tonight it's gonna be an event somewhere, all right, and you're gonna have people that's gonna be lining up to go to these different events.
That's why Esau put it together, man. He put you in a quarantine for COVID, for C-19. He put you in the had to have be quarantined and had pretty much on house arrest, which was taken away from what you going out and experiencing these events. We talking concerts, sporting events, everything he took away from you, just so he can get you to take the vaccine. Because you want that back. You want that lifestyle back. You want to be able to, because they just had the event that was yesterday. They had here in Jacksonville. They had the latest UFC. The latest UFC bout was here, and it was packed. It was packed. It looked like a regular event, there was never no what do you call that? Social distancing.
Yeah, it looked like it was a pandemic.
It looked like there was no pandemic going on. If you look at that video, if it wasn't for certain people wearing masks, you would think that was an old video. But it was live last night.
Yep. It says, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius, and that in Gerizim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place. Right, so that's when Jake started to fully deviate from the Most High. Yep. It was like, we ain't down with the Most High. We worshiping Jupiter. We down with that Herculean spirit. That's why you see these different Jakes, they got muscles on muscles, man. Really, that goes back to that Hercules Greek god spirit, man.
Yep.
Now,
Zeus and all that.
And there's nothing wrong with getting your physique right. Don't get it wrong. But some of these Jakes be going overboard, man. Now, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shah, the scriptures speak about in Jeremiah. Don't even boast in your muscles. Don't even boast in all these different things. You got certain Jakes that feel like they're protected and they feel like they high and mighty because they got fucking muscles on top of muscles, man. It's about the spirit, man.
Yeah, I got it for you.
And that's why when we went to war against those nations, it didn't have nothing to do with our physical strength. It didn't have to do with our prowess. All right, it didn't have to do with none of these different things, man. All right, it had to do with if the spirit of Yahweh Shem Shah was dealing with us, or if it wasn't. I just got a little bit more on that
Then I throw it to you.
And the point, like the brother saying, the scriptures tell you, I learned your hands to war. Speaking of the Mosaic, he learns a man's hands to war. He decides who gets the victory when a war takes place.
It says, of Jupiter the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place. The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people. For the temple was filled with riot and reveling.
Defiling the temple.
Yep.
Jake's they were becoming so Hellenized that they were defiling the temple, and then our customs were being put away while they were taking on the heathens' customs.
Yeah, and Jake was doing drugs thousands of years ago too, man. Drugs didn't just pop up in America. You watch that on the movie, the show Spartacus. You see, they would have damn near like
shrooms.
magic mushrooms.
Yeah, magic mushrooms and shrooms and
damn near look like opioids.
They would have certain herbs, because remember back then the herb was a lot more vital. So the herbs were stronger. So certain herbs mixed with certain herbs would bring forth a psychedelic effect.
Yeah.
Like, you think marijuana wasn't there? It was there.
Yeah.
All these drugs that Esau put together are herbal based anyway. That's how they get these reactions behind them.
So when Jake was in the temple, they was taking, more than likely, they was taking hallucinogens.
Yep.
They was worshiping all these different gods within the temple, and they was having sex parades, man.
And now you know the scriptures tell you ain't nothing new under the sun. So we know for a fact that they had mind altering things that you would classify as drugs today was back then.
For the temple was filled with riot and revelings. So you had all kind of, that Nuck If You Buck club crunk. Here, down south, they had that era, man, where you would just go to the club, and what they call that you call that in with Esau mosh pits, man, where everybody would just go to these different mosh pits and they be jumping all over each other, stepping on each other's shoes. A fight would break out. More than likely, niggas got to fight within the temple, man. And this place was pure. The temple was pure. All right, it was organized. You had the quarters. You had everything systematically in place. All right, it wasn't loud uproars. It wasn't all these different things that took place in the temple. It was so pure, that it was reserved to certain people, man.
You had jakes that were, through the process of extrapolation, that there were jakes that were in a righteous mind that wasn't trying to have that. That was trying to put it into that, but they might have been outnumbered because Jake was being Hellenized on such a high level. You might wanted to do something about it, but it was too many Jakes becoming wicked and doing wrong things. So Jake had to. It became the point that when you go and you read the Maccabees, that the Maccabees brothers were the ones who started stepping up and doing things about it.
That's right.
Because our people Jake was getting so Hellenized, man, that it got to the point where it was becoming, and that's what Esau wanted, even to this day. Things that are wicked is normal.
Yeah, normalized, yeah. Yep. Normalized wickedness. So it says, who dallied with harlots and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places. And besides that, brought in things that were not lawful. Right. An example of that was pork, man.
Yep.
You read that in the first chapter, or the first few chapters in the book of Maccabees, where Jake was sacrificing swine on the altar, and it wasn't just sacrificing and doing the offerings and just leaving it be. They was eating that pork, man. They was eating pork, and it's many sacrifices that Jake was involved in, man.
They were uncircumcising the children. They were giving our people pork or swine's flesh. They were doing all type of things. They got to the point where Jake will be bringing unclean animals like a swine for a sacrifice because of the wickedness they were doing. Then they got to the point they stopped even sacrificing.
All right. It says, the altar also was filled with profane things, which the law forbiddeth. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days, or ancient feasts, or to profess him at all to be a Jew.
Right. So basically, when the scriptures talk about first, we went into it last week. Second Ezra, the first chapter. It talks about the Most High took away our root, our seed, and our name. So basically, we weren't even knowing who we were. That was the illustration of the beginning of us being discontinued from our heritage.
Verse 7. And in the day of the king's birth, every month they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices.
And it's not bitter constraint in these times, man. It's sweet. It's sweetening. It's a sweetening free will, man. Yeah. All right. Back then, you damn near had to, pull a Jake out their way. You had to damn near tell them through laws you would be penalized, and that penalty could have been death. That's why when you read the book of Daniel, you seen that he had to go through a lot of trials for his faith, man. You know, the king of Babylon wanted him to worship. If I'm not mistaken, also Darius wanted him to worship. And he wasn't willing to worship to any of those gods. That's why Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego got through in the furnace of adversity. Daniel got through in the lion's den, man. It was all kind of trying times when those kingdoms of the heathen were set up. Because these different kings back then, they would make idols of themselves, man. That's why when you watch the movie 300, you see Xerxes, and what was his title? The God King. And he basically wanted Leonidas to bow down unto him. And Leonidas, which he was an Israelite, it tells you about the Lacedaemonians within the book of Maccabees 2. They were basically of that Jewish, not Jewish, but Israelite stock. All right. So Leonidas was like, "Nah, I'm not bowing down unto you, man. Basically, we worship the Most High.
We die.
Yeah, we die for our honor and our pride." And a lot of those jakes were, getting caught up into a little bit of that lifestyle. But for the most part, they was holding their frame. All right. That's why you had the what's the word? The vanguard. You always had the vanguard, just like the book of Maccabees. Those were the vanguards of Israel, man. All right, but continuing on, it says, by bitter constraints to the feast to eat of the sacrifices, and when the feast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus carrying ivy. Right. So, and I'm gonna get this definition of bacchanalia.
Well, you get that. Our people became so Hellenized. That's why Paul and Barnabas got on the scene. They were so heavy into the Greek mythology that they started naming them after Greek gods, the planets. They started saying what was it, Mars and Jupiter? That they were saying, because our people were just so used to worshiping objects and worshiping something else besides who they were supposed to worship, because that through generations have been Hellenized and lost who they truly were.
Yep. So I have a little bit on this. Damn. I got to just hit a light point and just move on. Because this bacchanalia is wicked as hell, man. All right. It speaks about bacchanalia, where Roman festivals of Bacchus based on various ecstatic elements of the Greek Dionysia. Right, so let me click on Dionysia. Dionysus, if I'm not mistaken, deals with Dionysus. But I'm just going to go hit the main point of it.
And if I'm not mistaken, that god Bacchus is synonymous with Baphomet, if I'm not mistaken.
More than like probably. But it says Livy, writing some 200 years after the event, offers a scandalized and extremely colorful account of the Bacchanalia. And Lord willing, I might try to find if I could that script, like the transcript or whatnot of what Livy wrote. But this is a little bit on it. It says modern scholars take a skeptical approach to Livy's allegations of frenzied rites, sexually violent initiations of both sexes. Where do you see that in these colleges, man? Yeah. In these different fraternities and sororities, you have to go through these different rituals in order to really be etched in, whether you want to be a Kappa, if you want, you got to go through these initiations. And I read on those initiations a long time ago when I first came into the truth. You would have men, it's like some type of elephant walk, like how, if you see how elephants would walk, some of them would actually hold each other trunk. Yeah.
these homosexual niggas would be holding each other's ride, man.
Not just that, it's heavy into nudity. Like when you do these initiations, whether it's a fraternity or sorority, they always want you doing things butt naked, or in your drawers or something. They drive you 30 minutes out, and you got to walk back to the campus butt naked or in your underwear.
Yeah,
stuff like that. You got to streaking, all that stuff, man.
Yeah, and these top
which leads to homosexuality.
And these top universities,
you got Yale. If I forget the other ones, but they're Ivy League schools. Now, when you're going back to that Ivy, that's the image of Bacchus. They just spoke about that that Ivy in 2 Maccabees, the 6th chapter. So that Ivy is synonymous with, I think, Yale, if I'm not mistaken, Harvard. I think I don't know if Princeton is in the list, but it's I think it's 5
popular Ivy League schools
that are the prominent schools within the United States.
Yep.
And those different Ivy League schools, it's a known fact that it's high levels of homosexuality. And another thing too, a lot of your presidents came up out of those Ivy League schools, man.
Oh yeah, those are the Skull and Bones members, your secret societies, even amongst Jake for schools that are not Ivy League schools, but they're HBICs, I believe it is, historical black colleges, HBCs. They got the black boule.
Yeah, they got the boule. It's Steve Harvey, he came out of the boule. Shaquille O'Neal came out of the boule.
Yeah. All those pledgers.
Yeah, a lot of those guys are pledgers, and you'll see them. They'll do this. A lot of those Jakes do that symbol,
and they get branded.
Physically. They'll get a brand, and they'll get sexually branded. Because that's the show that you
tattoo.
Yep, that shows that you're truly down. But I'm continuing on. I'm gonna get to the scriptures. Modern scholars take a skeptical approach to Livy's allegations of frenzied riots, sexually violent initiations of both sexes. So it's not just sex; it's sexual violence. You might have to get raped. Especially back then, if you really want to be down with the cult, if you really want to get down with, pretty much Jake was saying that Bacchus life, man. You want to get down with this Bacchus life? Like these different universities, it might be trucks of niggas, man. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7
Where should you get
individuals
orgies and trains
jumping on top of one man or a woman, man. And these different gangs do that same shit. Where do they get that from, man?
That's why I was saying Baphomet, because Baphomet is an androgynous god that's of like a hermaphrodite or one sex, not both sex. Like it has all private parts, and it doesn't turn down no sex, male or female.
Nope.
And they specialize in orgies. That's why that's the god of a lot of these celebrities. Because what happens when they go to the director's couch? They want fame and fortune. It's gonna come at a cost of you being violated. So when you go to they go to these industry parties, and you want to be part of that life, they'll let you warm up to it, but they'll let you get a taste of the fame, or let you get a taste of the money. Then they bring you in there, and it's a gang of butt naked old dudes that want to do everything they want to do with you, and you can't do nothing about it.
They call it a casting couch.
Yep. Casting couch.
Wow, good, man.
They trying to sit in there. I don't know.
Just swing it, man.
You got it, bro.
All right, a little loud. Sexually violent initiations of both sexes, all ages and all social classes, and of the cult being a murderous instrument of conspiracy against the state.
One thing they said, all ages. Pedophilia. You got Mambla now.
Yeah.
In the sorry-ass governor in California just passed a law, a pedophilia law, so that these perverts can't get prosecuted. So all they're gonna do is buy property in California and have that as their what? As their main residence, so they can do all kind of pedophilia and get away with it because they won't be tried because they saying that their main residence is the state of California, which legalized that madness.
That's really the Livy claims that 7,000 cult leaders and followers were arrested and that most were executed. Livy's dedication to the Bacchanalia scandal leads to his belief that the role Roman Mosaic played in society led to the anarchic growth in latter centuries.
And one thing about these different organizations, they don't die; they go underground. All right, so if hundreds of thousands of individuals die, in most cases, what they go underground, they'll reinvent themselves, and that's how Esau did. Esau did that.
Religion.
Through religion, they did that through their cult practices.
Yep.
All right. When Esau was pushed into the caves, what they had to recreate themselves, man. They came back reorganizing and reinventing the styles of the world, and they repainted themselves as Jewish, Russian,
Yep.
Greeks, Africans. They just started to change their basically cover. That goes to Isaiah the 25th chapter, the 7th verse. That covering cast, they started to recover themselves, man.
But I got a precept. Romans 13. Romans 13 and 12. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. Let us walk honestly as in the day, not in rioting and drunkenness, not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and envy.
This is exactly what the brother read that was taking place in the temple when Jake started integrating the ways of the heathen into the holy temple.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing that. The brother read that they were taking on that spirit of Bacchus, and before that they were doing all that. The scriptures tell you that was going on in the temple.
Mm-hmm.
So our people have been fully indoctrinated in these ways.
Yeah, and that's why you gotta watch yourself in this world, man. Of course you go out and get drinks, and scriptures speak about using the world, not abusing it. You're not gonna just be a hermit and just be in a house, just reading scriptures. You could use the world to full advantage, but you got to make sure that you don't abuse the world. You got certain jakes that just them live in the club, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's not our culture, man. Men don't spend no type of time really getting into the spirit of the Lord, elevating in discipleship, and really getting into the spirit of the Lord. But they always in the midst of the fuckery, man. You got to take a step back from this world, and you got to breathe, man. Because this world is like how old Jakes be saying, going to hell in a handbasket, man. These different women, as well as these different men, they just fully out of it, man. So we understand why they just be in the mentality of just going out, constantly drinking, throwing up, drinking more, passing out, because they niggas. But the scripture says what? Let us going back to it, let us put on the armor of light. Let us put on the armor of this truth. All right? And this truth can satisfy you more than anything in the world, man. Because what? All of this is temporal. It tells you that in 1 Timothy, all right, the 6th chapter, how basically, we brought nothing in this life, and you can't take nothing out, but it speaks about how the fashion of this world fadeth away. So the style of this living, all this is gonna be past. We ain't gonna have all this bullshit in the kingdom of heaven, man. And we ain't gonna need it. When you literally gonna have quarters filled up with women, why the fuck, excuse my French, why the hell you need a club, man? We ain't gonna be dating in the kingdom of heaven, trying to buy a chick a drink in the kingdom of heaven. It's gonna be full absolute power. All right? And that's what we're fighting for. Not to try to be the man in New York City, right, or be the man in California, being the man with the big rims, in the 2020 Benz, and you can switch from the Benz to the box truck, or the box Chevy or whatnot. You can switch from the box Chevy to the newest BMW. That's all BS, man. The Lord is prepping our minds for Godship. All right, spiritual ascension, man. You had something? Okay, I'm gonna read a little bit more. But it says, "Let us walk honestly as in the day, not in rioting and drunkenness." Right, and that's also that brawling spirit, man. You got certain jakes that like to get down in the streets, man. We're not supposed to be in that spirit, like throwing hands and shit like that. Nah, we're as well as getting drunk. You all in the middle of the street, pissy drunk. You gotta watch your wine at times, man. Especially when you out in the world. You sip, but you sip. What does the scripture speak about? Sipping in moderation. Yep. You know, you got certain, you know, individuals trying to guzzle, you know, trying to guzzle the, and I'm not talking about brothers, I'm really speaking about these people in the world. You know, they guzzling the wine, they mix the white with the brown, they'll take both bottles and do like this, you know, and then they chugging. Then what would it be? Chug. Brothers shouldn't be in the midst of that shit, you know? Or they had the beers, the little beer bottles with the little swigs, with the beer pong and all that shit, man. Those are all the things of the world, man. You know, this truth is about being solemn.
I got a little bit more. You got it. Rioting and drunkenness, not in chambering, and wantonness, not in strife and envy. But put ye on the Lord Yahushua, and make not provisions for the flesh.
To fulfill the lust thereof. So we're just all about moderation and adequacy. Do certain things, you know, but you got to be disciplined with it at the same time too. You got to know when to proceed forward. You got to know when to take your necessary step back, because this world is like a high-powered vacuum, man. It loves to suck you in, and it sucks you in through a process, man. You go from one thing to another. It's a gateway. If you see these different individuals that all bugged out, if you listen to each and every one of these individual stories, you can see it started off from one thing to another. One thing,
they weren't getting satisfied. One thing wasn't
it led to another.
Yeah, it needed something deeper and more stronger.
And that's why the sexual lust elevated to the point where they have to have sex with men. Or some of these women, they can't just sleep with one man. You know, that's why you can't turn a hoe into a housewife. It's the truth. You know, we ain't trying to reform hoes, man. You got certain women that can, you know, that's gonna be delivered. The scriptures speak about even harlots gonna be delivered. Yeah. But it's a lot of these women that's just like, look, man, they're gone. It's gonna take the spirit of Yahweh Shema Shah, man. All right, and we're temporarily here. We're just here to do our work and get up out of here. You got it. Go ahead.
And this is Sirach 31 and 25. It says.
Obviously, you want to go from this forward. I'll leave it.
Well, can you get it then?
Yeah.
Get Sirach 31 and start at verse 25. We're gonna read all the way through.
All right, Sirach 31 to 25. Show not thy valiantness in wine. Oh, that's a bad one.
Yeah, you ain't supposed to show your valor. You ain't supposed to. Matter of fact, hold that, bro, and go get Jeremiah. Get Jeremiah 9 and 23, because the brother mentioned earlier, you're not supposed to like glory in your strength and all, in your might and all that stuff. You're not supposed to be like, you're not supposed to act like a tough guy. You're not supposed to carry yourself like you some macho man. The scriptures talk about the meek. They talk about the meek shall inherit the earth. You know, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. You're supposed to have a humble spirit. You're not supposed to just walk around here like you just mean tough dude. Go ahead.
Jeremiah 9 and 23. Thus saith the Lord, let not the wise man glory in his wisdom, neither. What you about to say something?
No. Actually, yeah, I was, bro.
Yeah, go ahead.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna have you jump around a little bit. Hold that. Get 1 Corinthians 3 and verse 18. Because people use these things to take advantage of certain people. It's called manipulation. A person will use like they what they think is wise and they knowledge to basically bow another person down, to put another person behind them, like they're better than them. Go ahead, you got it.
1 Corinthians 3 and 18. Let no man deceive himself. If any man among you seem to be wise in this world.
If you seem to be wise in this world, meaning worldly knowledge, go ahead.
Let him become a fool that he may be wise.
Let him become a fool that he may be wise. You have certain brothers that went on, you know, and got some certain levels of what would be classified as education. But most people don't understand what the word education means. But they go to college. They don't even know what the word college means. But they consider themselves college educated. You're just bringing up forth ways of a curriculum that the so-called white man taught you that ain't even gonna benefit you, but it's just what he makes you go through.
Yeah,
in order to get a certain type of job.
Yeah, that's why when you go through your courses in school, you know, what you start off with as a freshman.
Yep.
All right. Well, of course, it's dealing with colleges for the most part and higher education. But you start off as a freshman, and then what? One of the main things I want to bring into point is sophomore. That word sophomore, soph goes into basically like wisdom, sophist, which deals with wisdom, and more deals with morus, which is a moron. So you're a wise fool.
Right.
All right. You might seem like you got wisdom, but you're really an idiot.
Right. That's why the word degree means dumb down.
To dumb down or to downgrade.
Yeah.
You know, and then eventually, like you said, after you go through your rituals of really being stupefied, that's when you get your degree.
Yep. You be like, okay, you done passed all these courses for us dumbing you down and setting you back.
Mm-hmm. That's that Baphomet. What is it? As above, so below.
Yep.
The higher you come up in the world, really the stupider
you had to become to get that.
Yep.
To achieve that.
Yep. It's like as you ascend, and with wickedness, you start to go get wickeder and wickeder and wickeder dealing with these different universities. Because really to ascend and really get to them achieve those high levels, you learn dealing with masonry and stuff, you gotta really get into some
sorcery and all that.
some deep dark stuff.
I forget which president it was. I want to say it was Woodrow Wilson. I forget, but he said that roughly paraphrasing, he said something like a small understanding of the Bible is more important than any college education.
He was right.
Because the Bible is full of wisdom. This is what you need. Scriptures say, search the scriptures, and then you should have hope.
Yep.
Go ahead.
For the wisdom of this world is foolishness with the Most High.
Foolishness with the Most High. Because the Most High have let fools run the earth.
Mm-hmm.
The base man, a violent in the earth, was been put into the power position. I'm talking about the so-called white man Esau. You've been raised up, and the Most High used you to shame the nation of Israel more. Because we have been the one that's disappointed the Most High and been disobedient and not keeping the law, statutes, commandments. The Most High said, I'm gonna take this base vile man that's up in the Caucasus Mountains that don't even have, they can't even speak. That Job didn't even want to even be near his dog. I'm gonna raise him up and put him above you. Matter of fact, he's gonna be above everybody. I'm gonna show my power that way.
The basis of men.
Exactly, the basis of men. Go ahead.
For it is written, He taketh the wise in their own craftiness.
Right, take up the wise in his own craftiness, which is the Most High have used men to understand this Bible. That's the greatest wisdom on earth. The men, starting with the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and the men under them that are learning the truth in the spirit and in truth. Those are the true wise men of the earth. That's the true wisdom. Now go ahead and go back to Jeremiah 9.
All right, back in Jeremiah 9 and 23. It says, Thus saith the Lord, let not the wise man glory in his wisdom.
Well, we already went through. Don't glory in the wisdom, because your wisdom is foolish to the Most High. Go ahead.
Neither let the mighty man glory in his might.
Let not the mighty man glory in your might, because your might is nothing.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, you have no might if it wasn't for the Most High. The Most High, he gives out the real Pt1, which is in the Hebrew word is mighty. They come from the Most High. So you can't even glory for that, because he can take it away from you. It's not yours. You don't own it. You can't keep it if the Most High don't want you to have it.
Yeah.
So you don't glory in that.
And the Lord's might, like I said, the Pt1, the Lord's the Pt1 is different from the might of this world, man.
Right.
People look at might, like I was saying before, it's how much you could bench press.
Right.
How much you could squat.
The carnal way.
The carnal way. You have these strongman competitions, and you'll see these different jakes lifting up something crazy, man. Trucks and shit. You know, these same individuals, when those trying times take place, you're gonna see them curled up in a fucking ball in a corner somewhere, fucking crying their eyes out, man.
Hey, bro, get Zechariah
with
1.
a thumb in their mouth, man.
That's right. Get Zechariah 1 and 15. No, 14.
And that's the Most High gonna spiritually. I don't even want to say it. I'm about to say spiritually buck break, but I just say the Lord gonna.
Let's just hey, we being wrong, because that's what's gonna be happening.
But that's what's gonna happen.
Some buck breaking, and then it's gonna be some you getting your ass ate.
Yeah.
It's gonna be some cannibalism.
Yeah. The Lord gonna. I just say spiritually break. The
Lord gonna fuck you and bite you.
Yeah.
What's chewing on you after that?
What's that? Zechariah what?
I think Zechariah 1 and 14, I believe.
Okay, Zechariah 1 and 14. So the angel that communed with me said unto me.
No, that's not it. So like Zephaniah.
Zephaniah 1 and 14. All right,
that's it.
Zephaniah 1 and 14. The great day of the Lord is near. It is near, and hasteth greatly.
Yep.
Even the voice of the day of the Lord, the mighty man shall cry there bitterly.
The mighty man, brother said they're gonna have their thumb in their mouth. They're gonna be crying. All those dudes you walking around, muscles on top of muscles and veins popping out their neck because they so strong. They can move things and lift, throw iron up and all that. They're gonna be crying bitterly.
And that's the ones mostly like